fun. Then, somewhere along the way, the big platforms moved in. Last year, $200 billion flowed upwards, away from the people who actually play. This year, they take it back. YOM, where players play games straight from your PC, not a data center in Virginia. Meet Tyler Pemberton. Yes, this looks dramatic, but he's perfectly fine. Tyler's offline. His PC isn't. 47 players streaming from his GPU right now. Even AFK, Tyler's rig is pulling its weight. He's making money in his sleep. Maybe this is what happens when gamers finally take control of their own world. Turn your idle GPU into passive income. YOM.net. Eat, sleep, earn, repeat.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome back to another town hall. Jeff Outlaw, the COO at YOM. I feel subdued. I feel like I'm my head is in the news, which is not. I probably shouldn't do that just before I jump into a town hall. News about like just the world in general, which seems to be pretty well on fire at the moment. But I'm going to talk instead about the good stuff, and then actually touch on some project stuff as well. Let me start off with this. So, just before jumping in, a community question came up from our from Wally, who's always been great about asking good questions. So he had a lot of great questions about what's going on, behind the scenes over here with the token action that's happened in the last couple of weeks. And I don't want to give that short shift. So what I said in the Telegram group, if you're not part of the Telegram group, you'll see it there. I'll just kind of summarize real quick. There's some real strong questions about, what did we learn? What's going on with the economic model? How does the swap and burn work? When do we think the network traffic is going to be where we want it to be, or how fast is it expected to ramp up? All those things. They're really good questions, but I don't want to rush them into answer. I don't want to rush into answering those in like a 10-minute segment on a Wednesday night town hall. Again, most of our traction happens on Friday with a larger town hall that lasts longer, and it gets more of an audience over in Europe. And with your and the biz dev team at Gamescom this week, really they should be in the room. Certainly, we should be in the room when we have this conversation. And I want to get him on board to a town hall so we can go through that information with him in the room. So we're not going to do that tonight. If that's what you tuned in for tonight, I apologize, but it really does deserve its own broadcast. That's going to happen not this Friday. A week from this Friday is when I penciled it in. I've got the questions that Wally raised already in a document pulled aside so we can go through and make sure that we answer those directly and fully. So that's the commitment. The this Friday coming up, I've got a demonstration of some of the stuff that we use on the back end. So I had our CTOs kind of showing off some of the stuff that he built for watching the network, pulling out metrics, telling us where the next improvement probably ought to be, those kinds of things. We pulled up some great numbers. There's a guy, somebody played Marvel Rivals for like 8 hours on one of our nanos it had like a tremendous frame rate, low latency from a good distance away. So those kinds of, we have a dashboard that shows us all this information. It's super important to us. I'm going to show it off on Friday. That's going to be the program for this Friday. I want people to see. Once again, there's so much being built. The technology is not just an operating system that we drop on our hard drive and ship out to people. It's so much more going on behind the scenes. But to be fair, you guys don't get to see all that stuff. We don't really broadcast a lot of it. Some of it's patent pending, so we kind of hold some of it close to our chest because we don't want other competitors to decide, oh, they should build something like what we've built already before the patents get completed. But I will be showing off some of that stuff on Friday, and you get to see that then. But again, the biz dev team is over at Gamescom, and we're going to talk about Gamescom because it's such a huge event, biggest gaming event in the world every year, and it's going on in Cologne, Germany. Our biz dev team and our CEO, they've all kind of set up some meetings to go in there and meet with some of the bigger industry players while they're there. This is the event that last year YOM won the Tech Startup of the Year award, beating out like 300 other projects that were up for that bid. And really, we were kind of like, again, if you hadn't tuned in from last year, 300 people or 300 projects put in for Tech Startup of the Year. We get into the final 10, and we're like, that's good for us. Final 10's like beating out 300 or 290 others. Felt like a win to us. And then we ended up winning, which we're surprised we didn't find out until the event that we actually won. So it was we're blown away. And I think we're right to crow about the technology that we've built. We're going to be speaking at Gamescom, talking about what's happened in the past year since winning that award. So that's another reason that we went this year. And it also got us a free ticket to get in, or a couple of free tickets to get into all the events. So let's talk about what's going on over at Gamescom, because again, it's some big news. Let me start with this article I thought was pretty fascinating. Now, everyone knows, I'm going to get myself small. There we go. Everyone knows Samsung is the biggest TV producer in the world. They own like 33% of the market. So a third of the market comes from Samsung. And they've went out and purchased a big booth space at Gamescom this year, over 1,000 square feet, to show off a lot of their technology. They're showing off a 6K monitor, which is, unreal. But I think what I got excited about when I saw, as I scrolled through the whole article, and they've got these two young booth. I kind of feel bad for these kids. I think these kids are. I'm sure they're happy to get pictures splashed over. Anyways, let me go over this. So what they are doing, Samsung is doing, is they're making TV sets that are specifically made for cloud gaming. The technology, I got to dive into a little bit more to find out what this technology is, but they're saying, let me find it in the article. Where was it? Yeah, right here. No, that's the handheld stuff. No, I was right. It's right here. Talking about cloud gaming and how their TV sets are going to be comparable with so that, again, they're seeing what we're all seeing, is that cloud gaming is really where the industry is going to go, and they want to be ready for it. They're kind of throwing their hat in the ring to say, we want to support cloud gaming, and not to download and install, but really just play off the cloud. What they're going to run into, is what we're going to talk about in a second, is all the other problems that the whole gaming industry is going to be getting into when they start thinking that cloud gaming is a solution, but hey, there are some roadblocks to that solution. I also wanted to touch on all the different games. So there's been two big events. It's the opening night event, where they show a lot of demos of or trailer videos of some of the games coming out. And then there was an event called the Futures Game Show, where they show more trailers of more games that are coming out. So I thought I would run through. Last year, I ran through and did and I'll probably do it again here today, show some of the trailer videos. I picked out some ones that caught my attention. I'm a big Gears guy, so that trailer, actually, I wasn't super thrilled with it, but again, maybe I'm just getting old. The PUBG one, let me show you the PUBG trailer was pretty sweet. I don't know that I'm sharing. Let me do this and make sure that I'm sharing sound, because I don't want you to miss the audio, and I'll kind of shut up while the video plays. But the PUBG stuff looks really nice. Check this out, dead.net. Oh, did I kill a? I did, didn't I? How did I do that? All right, hold on a second. I must have killed the. I killed the share. How did I do that? All right. Technical difficulties. Please stand by. There you go. Nope. Nope. I have two Mii's. How does that happen? All right. Anyways, PUBG. I'm excited about that one. I have a lot of friends who played a lot of PUBG, and it looks really, really nice. The other one that caught my attention, like or die. Let's see. Here we go. Like or Die. I had never heard this franchise before. I don't even know if it's a new franchise or what's going on, but I do like the way this trailer looked.
Handshake, heart race, blue glow on my face. Me and my black yellow clean. So lights get through the screen. Laugh it off, make it entertaining. This won't stop, keep it hard trending. That's so fast in the white light real. Boss was raining.
I did it again. As soon as I click off the screen, a restream is not being nice to me tonight. I'm gonna pull the chute and not even try to do any more of these videos. There was a couple of different trailers that I thought were really interesting, and I wanted to share them. But as soon as apparently restream is just not going to let me do that tonight. If I do this and this and that and that. Let's try this one. As I said before, I tend to get drawn to the different art styles of some of these games, and this one reminded me of Journey. In the simplicity, and then you'll see in a second that some of the gameplay almost looks like Journey. So that one looked really interesting to me as well. Again, coming to Steam. So I think what I wanted to call out is any of these games that the trailers talk about releasing on Steam, realize that Walter, which is powered by YOM, has the ability to tap into any of the Steam games. So any of these games that are being shown off at Gamescom, again, they're gonna if they're available through Steam, they can make it to the Walter platform. But anyways, that's all demand side. Gamescom is all about the games that are coming up, and the demand for cloud gaming is, again, we'll get a full report from Andy in Europe when they get back about how much you see cloud gaming all over the conference this year. But we still have this other big issue, right? And that is the supply side. So the supply side is all the data centers and all the pushback that's coming around. In the States, I keep on saying in the States especially because that's where I get most of my news, but it's going worldwide as well. The oh shit moment, which is, I think, for what they're saying in this, as I read the article and everything, it talks about how in the U.S. we're coming up on a midterm election. We do every 2 years. We have Congress gets a good recycling, or it doesn't really get a good recycling like it should, but it gets a recycling of people coming in and out, and a lot of governors and other people, other politicians get reelected every 2 years. So of course, any hot button issue. Now they all want to get on the right side of that hot button issue, and the reason why it's a no shit moment is because we've got basically the two political parties here, and they want to play one against the other. Either you're this way or you're that way. But with data centers and the proliferation, what the damage they're doing, this is one where both sides, the constituents of both parties are saying, yeah, this is a bad thing. So politicians, of course, get very worried when the two sides agree on something, and this is one issue that both sides are agreeing on. And you're seeing politicians, governors of states like Pennsylvania, who at one time were like, "Oh, come data centers, come build in our state." Now realizing that the political winds have shifted, and he's now flip flopped and saying, "No, we're going to now put in legislation that the community has to be able to vote for the data centers." Really, what we're talking about is no longer socially or politically viable. Or the data center issue has become a political and social hot button issue, and you're going to see that constraints further making it further difficult for cloud gaming to survive on the data center model, because the data centers are going to be they're all kind of pushing that AI, and that's where that's the darling of these systems now. But the cloud gaming market is looking for, well, we need to compete against AI now for cycles, GPU cycles from these data centers, and it's too expensive in many cases. Now, cloud gaming was projected to jump from a $2.2 billion market to a $21 billion market by 2030, 44% annual compound annual growth rate. But that growth rate is going to be stunted by the data center pushback if it really comes to fruition. However, of course, there is a solution, and that's what we're proving with the YOM network and Walter GG, which is running off of the YOM network, that you can play these AAA quality games off of a network if it's built correctly without the high cost, and that is the distributed network that that we've shown off a number of times here. People have seen, and I'll bring it up again too, the live map of our network as it's expanding. Let me get out of this here. Stop sharing that, and then stop sharing that. Why is that scene even there? Get out of there. I have the network map up in a second. Where did I put you? There we are. Yeah. So the network, you're seeing all those nanos now operational and sending out signals, and it's expanded. We've got quite a lot of density now, and you could say we got almost full coverage in North America. Maybe some of the reaches of Canada up in the cold tundra we don't reach now. Europe also pretty well covered. And now we reach out all the way down to Australia, getting some activity now in active nodes inside of India and the Pacific Rim. South America, I know there's another one heading over to Brazil too. So we got a lot of coverage, and people are starting to see that, wow, this is a good way for me to earn passive income by renting out my GPU when I'm not using it. And then people who are gaming are saying, okay, this is a better way for me to game for free. The Marvel Rivals, I think right now, is getting the most traction, but Counter-Strike is also getting a lot of, and I can go through this on Friday too, because I can see which game's getting the most activity. So some good news there. The last thing I wanted to share was this article that I hadn't realized this is as bad as it is, but it's pretty bad. I've talked oftentimes about the data center model. Why it's broken is obviously it requires a lot of energy, and then the homeowners that are in the area where data center is being built, and they're now competing with the data center for energy costs. And then people have often talked about the water as well as water costs. And in my head, I was like, well, that's because the cooling systems that these data centers need. They need water to cool their systems. And again, with the distributed network where it's just a GPU in people's homes, that heat is distributed, well across, all the different nodes all over the world. It wasn't just the water for the cooling centers. It's actually much more of a water drain for the power plants that are powering the data centers. They use up much more water than just the data center itself. And that's the reason why the water costs in those local areas are rising for many of these homeowners. It's that these power centers are now having to pull in more water because they're running more watts through. And that is further constraining, again, the data centers, and further causing pushback from the people who are politically aware of how bad this is being. So I didn't realize it was as bad as it is, but it's really not the water just for the data centers, but water for the power plants as well. So all that leads to, again, the solution is, or the issue really becomes that the centralized model, the way that cloud gaming works currently, the way that any cloud system works currently, is through these data centers. And building more data centers is just further causing the same issue to compound itself. And you're starting to see some of the investors pull back too, and saying that, there's enough political animosity towards these data centers that some of the investors are saying, well, maybe we need to, put our money in other places. The real solution is to decentralize all that. Don't have that compute all in one place, but spread it out. There are 80% of the GPUs, the gaming rigs around the world, and at any one time, 80% of them are not being used. They're sitting idle. And what we've said, again, what we designed our system for is, if you have one of those gaming rigs and it's sitting idle when you go to bed at night or when you go off to work or off to school, you put it on our network, and we'll pay you to allow us to use your computer as part of our distributed network, distributed edge network. This means for the game players, you're playing off of a node close by to you. Our orchestrator finds you a node that's got a fast enough signal to send the game to you, so it feels like it's playing, natively on your computer. But you don't have to download and install. You don't have to wait for updates. You're playing instantly. It's not the wait time goes away. And again, for the publishers, what that means is your time for acquisition of players is much, much shorter. It's not a matter of getting them to go to Steam, download the game. Well, first of all, decide that they want to get the game, come up with the money to purchase the game, download and install the game, and then start playing 4 or 5 hours later. Instead, you've got the game up and running on your website or up on a platform like walt.eg, and people are playing it instantly. Again, closing that acquisition loop, which is, again, what many publishers are talking about needing to find a solution to. So I think that's what I'm going to cover for tonight. If you have if you're interested in the technology that goes on behind the scenes, that's going to be this Friday's talk. It's going to be really good. I was super blown away as a CTO. Rohan was walking me through what it was that he built, or what they've built and what they're using and why they're using it. It became further in my mind that we should be showing this off to the community to show it's not just that map that you see that I show every week, but there's many more things going on behind the scenes to help us make the system as robust as it is. What he had said to me is, the first step was to get the network scaled and all working where anybody who's touching the games gets it at a low latency. The next part is making it even more robust. And finding where the problems are, and this tool suite that he'll be showing off helps us define where those problems are and how to target solutions at them. That is the broadcast for tonight. Again, if you want to follow along, we've got X, we've got Telegram, we've got Discord. Those are the 3 ways to follow us on socials. We're here twice a week. On Wednesdays, we go over the industry news. On Fridays, we go over the project news. And on this Friday, I don't know. I may actually have a guest this Friday. I may actually pull in Dirk or Ron to help when I walk through this tool to help us show it off in a better way. If not, it'll be just me. But the tool, again, is pretty robust. All right. Be good to yourself. Be good to other people. Drink lots of water. Touch grass with bare feet. See the stars at night, and tell someone close by that you love them. We'll talk again next week. Cheers.